Welcome back to Unit 6, Coordinates in Space. Today we have two vocabulary words and we have a key concept, distance and midpoint formulas in space. So A has coordinates x1, y1, z1, and B has coordinates x2, y2, and z2. So z is our third dimension. So far we've been only dealing with our x and our y, which is our two-dimensional shapes. Now we're going to be dealing with a third dimension. So we're going to use our distance formula that we've addressed before, but instead of just doing x2 minus x1 squared, y2 minus y1 squared, we're now going to have z2 minus z1 squared. Same with the midpoint formula. We're now going to add z1 plus z2 and divide it by 2. So let's take a look at our first example. So doctors use three-dimensional coordinate system for medical imaging. The medical image and position system allows doctors to analyze a person's anatomy from a three-dimensional perspective. So we're going to set up using our distance formula. So here are our coordinates. We have 3, 0, -6. This is going to be my x1. This is going to be my y1. This is going to be my z1. And then our second pair of coordinates is 5, 0, and 65. This is going to be my x2. This is going to be my y2. And this is going to be my z2. So again, my new distance formula, d equals the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared plus z2 minus z1 squared. So let's plug in the values that we now have. So we have our x1, our x2, our y1, y2, z1, z2. So square root of x2 is 5 minus 3 squared plus 0 minus 0 squared plus our z's are 65 minus -6 squared. So once we simplify the subtraction, we end up getting 2 squared plus 0 squared plus 71 squared. So let's square this out, add that up. When we square it out, add it up, we end up getting 5,045. And when we take the square root of 5,045, we get about 71.0. So the length of the man's spine from this imaging is about 71. All right. Let's take a look at the next example. So for the next example, we're going to be using the midpoint formula. So again, our new midpoint formula, now that we are in space, is m x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2, and z1 plus z2 divided by 2. So we have point D, which is at -4, -3, 5, and we have point E, which is at 6, 1, 9. So let's add these together. So our midpoint is going to be -4 plus 6 over 2. negative 3 plus 1 over 2, and 5 plus negative 9 over 2. So negative 4 plus 6 is 2 over 2. Negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2 over 2. And 5 plus negative 9 is negative 4 over 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So the midpoint of these coordinates is 1, negative 1, 2. So we have dealt with a variation on our distance formula, a variation on our midpoint formula. Go ahead and write a summary on this variation and what it means, and then use these two examples to help you out with your practice today.